Good morning, Mr. President, and thank you for receiving us again. A lot of things changed since our last time we met, so I do thank you again for helping us to understand the dynamics in the Caucasus and the energy market.
Well, in our region, situation is developing towards peace. I hope so. I came to Italy from Brussels, where we had trilateral negotiations with President of European Council and Prime Minister of Armenia, and we agreed that within 1 month, foreign ministers of Azerbaijan and Armenia will meet in order to start practical discussions on peace agreement. That was our proposal from almost immediately after the Second Karabakh War ended. We said that we need peace agreement, and it took almost 2 years Armenia to agree with that. So I think this is one of the most important outcomes, and of course a lot will depend on how these peace talks go, what will be the timetable, what will be the substance. I think that we can finalize and sign peace agreement within several months. I think this is realistic, yes, if Armenian side will express the same will. Because we introduced 5 basic principles which peace agreement should be based on, and Armenia accepted them.
So this could be a very important step toward building infrastructure that can connect the two countries and the whole region.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And building the new infrastructure connecting Azerbaijan, Armenia, and our other neighbors was part of the trilateral declaration which was signed just after the war ended. And Azerbaijan already started a large-scale infrastructure projects on the liberated territories. We already inaugurated the first international airport, and the second international airport runway is already operational. Soon we'll inaugurate it. We built electric lines, we built power stations, highways, tunnels, bridges, and railroad. So all is in the process. Of course, we build it not only for connectivity with the neighbors, for internal use, but also Zangezur corridor, which will connect Azerbaijan with its autonomous Republic of Nakhchivan through Armenia, is also part of our efforts.
Let's just shift to gas, because as you focused, it's a very important issue. Europe is trying to rid itself of Russian fossil gas. And as you said before, in mid-July, you met in Baku European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. You signed an agreement to double the Azeri export toward Europe with regard to the investments from 10 billion cubic meters to 20 by 2027, I guess. But I was just wondering, Mr. President, that this is a very important, a huge step, but comparing to Russian export toward Europe, that was in 2021 155 billion cubic meters, is just a small quantity. Is Azerbaijan, under your presidency, studying any other project that could increase this supply, maybe through other pipelines, through other parts of Europe? Are you just valuing, because this is a very big need?
Yes, I understand the point, and actually we are now evaluating the new options and new plans with respect to investment. But the situation which you are referring is very new. Therefore, no one was prepared for that. And all our energy projects, including natural gas transportation, were based on the existing contracts. We signed the contracts with European companies which purchased our gas many years ago, and then we invested in pipelines, and when we started to supply gas to Europe, only a year and a half ago. Only very, first day of 2021, we started to supply gas to Italy. Therefore, our previous plans are fully implemented. And now what you are referring to our meeting with Madame Ursula von der Leyen, and we discussed how to increase in a short term the production. To double the export to Europe is a big deal. It's not a small thing. We need investments, we need expand the capacity, because our pipeline which brings our gas to Europe has a capacity of 10 billion cubic meters, tap. So we need to expand it up to 20. It needs money, it needs agreement between the shareholders, and all that is a process. With respect to the reserves we have, I spoke at the conference, minimum proven reserves are 2.6 trillion cubic meters of gas. So potentially we can increase the supply to Europe even more than 20 billion cubic meters. But also we should understand that Europe is not only our only destination. We supply Turkey with the same figure than Italy, about 10 billion cubic meters, and demand in Turkish market also is growing. We supply Georgia, though the market is not big, but still. Our total export this year will be about 22-23 billion cubic meters, but in order to increase, first, a lot of investments must be made in the fields and expansion. Not only of tap, we need to expand TANAP from 16 to 32 billion cubic meters. Yes, it will not need a building of new pipeline. We need only to upgrade the compressor stations, but still it's investments. And also one important thing that we never, in the past and even now, we never put in front of us a target to compete with Russian gas on the European market. No, we had our space. We've signed contracts with 3 European countries, with Italy, Greece and Bulgaria. There are demands from other European countries, and we are evaluating those demands. There are projects, as you mentioned in your question, to have other extensions, like Ionic Adriatic pipeline, which can go to Balkans, Greece-Bulgaria interconnector, which soon will be inaugurational, other interconnectors. But all this is a kind of a puzzle on the table. We need to have active negotiations with potential consumers, to agree with shareholders about investments in production, in distribution, and also to negotiate the price. So a lot of issues in front of us.
Mr. President, allow me to look in the long term. Your country has got so many potentialities. It has got an extraordinary strategical position. For instance, in 2021, after 30 years of disputes, you just had an agreement with Turkmenistan to develop the Dostluk, if I'm not wrong, gas field on the Caspian Sea. And if we see the gas fields on the Caspian Sea, are you considering to, for instance, to build the Trans-Caspian pipeline? Because in this case you can connect Kazakhstan gas fields, Turkmenistan gas fields. You could become an extraordinary gas hub for the whole region, not only for Europe.
Yes, you are right. A decision which we made together with Turkmenistan to develop Dostluk field, I would call it a historical decision, because we managed to agree based on the national interests of both countries and based on our brotherly relations. So now in front of us is a task to start developing of this field. This field is mainly oil field, not gas field. But with respect to Trans-Caspian project, this project is being discussed for many, many years. I remember maybe at least 15 years it is being discussed, but from practical point of view, no steps have been made. When we initiated construction of Southern Gas Corridor, we took the lead we created a team. We started negotiations with countries, with consumers, with companies, and also we were the main investor. When we built oil pipeline from Baku to Ceyhan, it was the same. What I'm trying to say is it is not the transitors who initiate these projects. It's the owners of resources. Transitors can only facilitate, provide the territory, or can be co-investor, or can only be kind of recipient of the transit fees. In other words, Trans-Caspian pipeline is not a project of Azerbaijan. As far as our projects are concerned, all of them in oil and gas have been completed. Now we implement the projects of export of electric energy to Europe. But Trans-Caspian project is based on Turkmen resources. Therefore, if Turkmen government decides to build Trans-Caspian, it will be their decision. If they make such a decision, of course we will support it, but we will not initiate it.
You are a small but modern country surrounded by three regional powers like Turkey, that is a strong ally of you, but also in South Iran and Russia. And you have always been able to keep a balance, as you underlined before. But nowadays, since 6 months, things have changed dramatically. And you are getting closer to Europe for the gas. Do you feel any reprisal from Russia that could be not military but a commercial or diplomatic reprisal?
No, not at all. I think the reason is that our relations in the region are well balanced and they have their own dynamics. With every neighbor we have a special agenda of bilateral cooperation, which is different from other neighbor. And with every neighbor we always have been very fair and sincere. We never violate our promise, and if we said something, our neighbors were sure that we mean it. So our signature has the same power as our word. Therefore, in this complicated situation, we do not have any messages, neither from Russia nor from Iran, about our position. Our position is straightforward. We always supported territorial integrity of every country, and this is a fundamental position. Yes, this was based on our own problem, that our territorial integrity was violated. Now, when we restored it, we still are on this position, because territorial integrity of a country cannot be violated by force. This is a violation of international law. Some may like this position, some may dislike, but they have to take it into account. So to put in a nutshell, we don't have any moments which would create concern with respect to regional development. You mentioned Turkey, our ally. It's a strong global power. And of course, the alliance declaration which we signed with Turkey last year is a very important factor of regional stability. And since the end of the Second Karabakh War, where Turkey showed us political and moral support, our relations strengthened even more. So this is an important factor. And on many issues in our region, Turkey and Azerbaijan, they act as one team. And this also must be taken into account by everyone.
And let's shift to the economy. In this very moment, Azerbaijan, I think, is having a lot of interesting energy earnings. But you told me last time that the diversification of the economy is an absolute priority for your country. And how is it going? Because it doesn't look that it's going so fast as you imagined, maybe.
Well, with respect to the earnings, just want to clarify, because there is a common opinion that these high oil prices, they bring enormous additional wealth to the exporters. Yes, it is true, our revenues increase, but at the same time we lost money on the capital markets. because assets of our state oil fund are in different instruments, and the biggest assets is in the capital market. And the capital market went down, therefore we, as many other sovereign funds, lost not a lot of money. Some sovereign funds lost more than $100 billion. We lost $2-3 billion. But with respect to diversification, of course, no matter how we try to diversify our export, our non-oil and non-gas export will not match oil and gas export, because oil and gas export growing. For instance, with Italy, we supplied natural gas to Italy last year 9.6 billion cubic meters. This year, 7 months, 11 billion cubic meters. And the gas price is high. So for us, diversification is not statistic which is reflected in GDP. Is a means to provide jobs and to provide a good quality of life to our people. If you look to our GDP, for instance, these 6 months, what we'll see? GDP grew 6.2%, but in non-energy sector, almost 10%. In non-energy related industry, more than 11%. And also non-energy export grew 25%. So this shows that the growth is here, but it is not enough. Therefore, we need more reforms, more investments in non-energy sector, and for that, of course, we need to have better business climate. And also there is improvement, but still we need to do a lot in order to remove all these bureaucratic obstacles and some psychological legacy of the Soviet past.
I imagine that you also have to rebuild the liberated area. And in the diversification in the liberated areas, do you think there is any room for the Italian companies to have some contracts to help your country?
Italian companies are very actively working on the liberated areas. I can tell you, with respect to the scope of work, Italian companies are second after Turkish companies. And Turkish companies, natural because it's our ally and close friend, and second, it's our neighbor, and they have very prominent construction companies. But second, companies from countries Italian. If I can give you an example, for instance, our memorial and victory museums, not only in Baku, but in some other liberated cities, is designed and will be built by Italian companies. Italian companies provided equipment for electric energy production in 4 liberated territories: Agdam, Fizuli, Kubatli, and Kelbecer.
Are we speaking about green energy?
This is hydro energy. This is company Ansaldo. Then one Italian company designed based on our request and will implement the project of the new mosque in Shusha. So this demonstrates the level of our relations, because Shusha for every Azerbaijani is a sacred place, and the new mosque in Shusha was awarded to Italian companies. That means that there is such a high level of trust that we made that step. And we have big plans, for instance, for renewable, for wind and solar plants, for hydro, to invite more Italian companies. Yesterday, during my meeting with the Prime Minister, we brought the figure of the amount of contracts implemented by Italian companies in Azerbaijan, the contracts financed by Azerbaijan. It's more than $10 billion. So Italy is well represented in Azerbaijan, but in liberated territories, I'm sure they will keep this important second position after Turkey during the whole time of restoration.
So I guess yesterday it was a good meeting with Sergio Mattarella. It was not the first one, and with Mr. Mario Draghi. I think, what about the multi-dimension agreement, strategic partnership?
Yes, it's implementing successfully. and our bilateral agenda is becoming broader. Of course, energy, trade, the main part, but not only. Yesterday, in the new building of our embassy, we had an excellent ceremony of exchange of documents between other universities and 5 leading Italian universities: LUISS, Bologna, Sapienza, and Turin and Milano technological universities. Azerbaijan Italian University is created. The building is being built, and by the end of 2024 they will have excellent location. So we cooperate actively with respect to EU-Azerbaijan partnership. Italy always strongly supported Azerbaijan's rapprochement with EU. Italy always supported our efforts to establish closer relations with NATO. And of course, energy security, which today, this is energy bridge of 3,500 kilometers, which unites Baku and Italian coast. It's really a bridge of energy security, and not only for Italy, because Italy also, I'm sure, will be a country which will distribute further to Europe Azerbaijan hydrocarbons. So we have energy segment, economic trade development. Italy is our main trading partner. We have education, culture, so many more areas. So strategic partnership declaration is working.
Thank you. A very short question, last question, is with all these difficulties in Russia, do you think it's just a dream to think of a new Silk Road that could cross the Caspian? In this case, you could also become a commercial hub with the right infrastructures.
Yes, you're right. And we've been working on that many years ago already. We started this work. We built the biggest trade seaport in the Caspian, and now it is full. So we need to expand it up to 25 million tons of cargo handling and 1 million TEU. We built a shipbuilding yard in Baku, so now we produce all types of ships to transport oil and cargoes from eastern shores of the Caspian. We build railroads and highway, and the export through Azerbaijan from Central Asia and China grows. I think the growth is more than 20%. And that was done before Russian-Ukrainian war. Russian-Ukrainian war only sent the signal to companies on the eastern shores of the Caspian that this route should be more closely examined. And we provide good tariffs, and we provide all the necessary logistical support. So having no access to open seas, being a landlocked country, Azerbaijan today is becoming a regional transportation hub, not only from east to west and backwards, but also from north to south. Yes, south-north transportation corridor crosses Azerbaijan. There's no other way for this corridor to go. And this corridor also becomes very important, for instance, for Russian companies, which now have difficulties in exporting their goods to European destination because of the sanctions. So the route from Azerbaijan to Iran and to Persian Gulf becomes for Russian companies one of the most attractive, and also from Persian Gulf through Azerbaijan to Russia. So we are sitting on two corridors, south, north, and east-west. And of course, it increases the geopolitical importance of Azerbaijan and gives opportunity to create new jobs. And we expect that south-north transportation corridor will be as important as the east-west. For us, both have the same value because both cross our territory.
I do thank you for your kindness and for letting know something more about your country. I wish you all the luck.
Thank you very
again,
much.
Mr. President.
Thank you. Grazie.